Hello, everyone. My name is Erika Barns. I am a dietetic intern at Duke University, and I've had the pleasure of shadowing Flourish RDs and being an intern to Katie Brown, and I've really enjoyed my experience, and I am going to do a quick little presentation on the carnivore diet. So the carnivore diet, I'm sure you all have probably heard about the carnivore diet. It's recently gained some attention on social media, probably especially in the past few years. I personally didn't really hear about it until maybe like the last 6 months or so, but hearing and seeing videos about the carnivore diet definitely really interested me. So I kind of wanted to dig a little deeper, just see what it's about. A high protein diet isn't necessarily a new phenomenon, but in recent years, what kind of sparked the attraction to the carnivore diet that we're kind of seeing trending right now is this book titled The Carnivore Diet, written by Dr. Shawn Baker. And in this book, he outlines the carnivore diet lifestyle and the results it can bring. He talks about how effective it is for weight loss, how it can improve digestive health, how it can stabilize mental health, and just a lot of other things. Dr. Shawn Baker is an orthopedic surgeon. He's a world champion athlete. He deems himself as a lead authority on medical nutritional therapy, and he has a pretty large following on social media. He does a lot of podcasts, just a lot of content. So essentially, he's the one that kind of sparked the spread of this essentially zero carb elimination diet, the carnivore diet that's trending right now. So what is the carnivore diet? So on the carnivore diet, it is a very low carbohydrate diet, similar to a ketogenic diet, just with probably even more carbohydrate restriction. So on the carnivore diet, you are only consuming meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs. And that's what they kind of consider the purest form of the carnivore diet, or the strictest form of the carnivore diet. Some may choose to incorporate animal-based foods. So in addition to the meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs, that would also include full-fat dairy like cheese, butter, heavy cream, or sour cream, things like that. The carnivore diet completely eliminates all fruit, vegetables, any type of bread, grains, cereal, and all highly processed foods. In terms of beverages for the carnivore diet, water is pretty much the primary beverage. Coffee and tea are okay, but coffee and tea can't have any sweeteners in it, and you could put just maybe a small amount of cream. Also, you can consume small amounts of dry wine or like unsweetened liquor like vodka, tequila, things like that. That would be acceptable. But essentially, the carnivore diet is strictly meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs, with maybe some full-fat dairy for those who choose to consume it. So I wanted to include some sample meal plans. Now, there's a whole website for the carnivore diet, so I definitely encourage you to check that out. It's very interesting, but I wanted to include some sample meals just so you have an idea of what the carnivore diet kind of recipes, what is being promoted, and what a typical day may look like for someone that's following the carnivore diet. So you can see here you have things like egg muffin cups with sausage, or roasted chicken, an egg shake with heavy cream, which sounds kind of gross. But you have a myriad of things. You also may have scrambled eggs, pork sausage patties, and things like that. So like it said, all meat and eggs pretty much.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Are you allowed to have spices? Because they have herbs on their food.
You are allowed to have spices, but they do, they promote salt as like the one thing for you to have. But it didn't really talk too much about specific herbs and spices. They do talk about like for some meats, you're gonna put you may want like a barbecue sauce or something. But they say if you're gonna do that, like be very careful about it, because that could add in carbohydrates that they, discourage.
Because like the pictures have parsley and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, I think there was one, oh, maybe I didn't include it, but it had like a bed of something. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know if
That's
it
very
was for,
confusing.
yeah, like if it was just for the picture, like for aesthetic purposes, or if you can actually consume them. Yeah.
Okay.
So the carnivore diet, they advertise these core advantages or benefits that are heavily promoted. Um, and so some of them include like weight loss. They talk about blood sugar regulation. They talk about mental health and other things. So when it comes to weight loss, the idea is that there will be a reduction in body fat because the carbohydrate restriction is going to encourage the body to utilize fat as its primary energy source. Of course, we know like with the keto diet, people typically will experience weight loss, at least in the short term, when restricting carbohydrate. But you know that with that, the issue can sometimes revolve around the necessity of complete restriction for health advantages or weight loss, and also the sustainability of that weight loss with this kind of diet strategy. Another thing that they promote is that consuming a diet high in protein and fat is going to be extremely satiating. So you're not going to experience that persistent hunger. So essentially, you're satiated with the high protein and high fat. You're eating less, fewer calories will lead to weight loss. When it comes to blood sugar regulation, the idea is that the carbohydrate intake is going to promote insulin, is that carbohydrate intake promotes insulin release. So eliminating carbohydrate would lead to blood sugar regulation. One thing I noticed when doing research about the carnivore diet is there are a lot of claims, but there aren't always a lot of concrete details about how the carnivore diet will specifically lead to the improvement of these things. So that's just something to be mindful of. And a same thing with mental health, you know, it was kind of unclear about what the justification was for the carnivore diet in improving mental health. There was some information that said like iron deficiency may result in cognitive impairments in mental health. Therefore, consuming iron-rich sources such as meats could have a positive effect. But again, that information wasn't really concrete, at least from the primary carnivore diet website. Some other advantages that were mentioned are, improvement in cardiovascular health and autoimmune issues. So if you go to the carnivore diet website, these are lists of all the things all the health benefits for conditions that the carnivore diet has been proven to be beneficial. So you can click on each of these and it'll take you to a page with several articles for each topic of how the carnivore diet can improve or aid in these conditions. I didn't look at all of them, but I did look at some. And the articles that are going to pop up are articles that were written by this carnivore diet team or Dr. Sean Baker. And I noticed that some of them, they may mention something like liver issues, or it might mention epilepsy, but it doesn't really have a lot of detailed, concrete information regarding how the carnivore diet specifically relates to these issues. And that's a lot of things too. That's a lot of conditions where a diet can potentially aid. But the ones that are in bold are the ones that they really promote, especially the weight loss and the blood sugar. And I think when I was looking at it, I think I only saw one or two links that were actually like linked to an actual research study. So I think that's a little interesting and something to take note of as well. So something that is advertised, or I guess more so a warning for people starting the carnivore diet, is something called the keto flu. And so it's a common side effect that people may experience in the first couple weeks of the carnivore diet. And this can include symptoms like headaches, fatigue, nausea, confusion, and irritability. And this is often caused by dehydration or sodium deficiency due to increased urine salt loss, is what they say. So the carnivore diet recommends that you manage this by increasing your sodium intake. So in the water you would drink, you would add half teaspoon of salt, and that should relieve your symptoms. And they say this is only something you would experience in the first couple weeks of this diet. So the risks of the carnivore diet, of course, with meat sources and variety of meat sources, saturated fat becomes an issue, and saturated fat can be linked to an increase in LDL cholesterol, which is the one we kind of want to limit or manage well. Also, sodium becomes an issue. Increased sodium intake can have negative effects on blood pressure. Another huge risk about the carnivore diet is the lack of fiber in the diet that you would typically be getting from whole grains, fruits, and vegetables that are completely eliminated on this diet. And so that lack of fiber can definitely have a negative impact on gut health. Another thing with eliminating fruits and vegetables is that the micronutrients that we get, won't be getting all of them. So there's the potential for deficiency, lack of antioxidants in the diet. And so this is a diet that can have some pretty significant side effects and risks for people who are following, especially in the long term. Specifically, people that this may be very problematic for, people with chronic kidney disease or decreased kidney function, with the high protein intake, that could become an issue. People with hyperlipidemia or people on cholesterol lowering medications, the increase in saturated fat intake could cause a problem. People with just disordered eating symptoms, this could be an issue. Having a diet that's so restrictive could have a negative impact on someone that has disordered eating patterns. And of course, the increased risk of heart disease would be something that we want to might not be great for someone following the carnivore diet. And then anyone with diabetes that is managing it with insulin. Diabetes management doesn't mean eliminating carbs. We know it's more so consistent carbs. So completely eliminating carbs could have a negative effect on these people as well. So in conclusion, there isn't a lot of research on the benefits of the carnivore diet from external sources, I'll say, and we really don't know the effects on long-term health. What we do know as dietitians is that, it's our job to understand what's out there, understand the fads, and understand the trends so that we can properly counsel and guide patients responsibly, and even maybe offer tweaks for someone who would be interested in just explaining and educating on the importance of things like fruits and vegetables and fiber, and how you can achieve health benefits and improvements in health without severely restricting, if you don't have to. Sustainability and long-term adherence to a diet that's so restrictive can be unnecessary. So it's just really important that, again, we are educated on things like this so that we can counsel and guide patients responsibly.